Hello everybody, welcome back. We've got another Summit event for you today. This one was 40-20 format with Arthurian Legends included. We played best of one matches with pre-sideboard. While the sideboard was successful and it added a bit of depth to the game, with the new collection coming out, I think this was a fun experiment, but probably not necessary moving forward. Looking ahead, our next Summit event will kick off after Gen Con. It will feature the bottom 5 avatars: Avatar of Water, Avatar of Fire, Witch, Templar, and Wave Shipper. If that sounds interesting, or you have a cool brew with one of those 5, come on over. It will be a free event. In today's video, I've got 2 of my own games from the best of 4, plus semifinals and finals featuring Joffrey and Zach. Enjoy, everybody. So in this game, this was my first game for the event. Zach was playing Pathfinder, and I went back to my Avatar of Earth. I didn't go Fire this time. I was like, with all the defensive sites that were running around in 40-20, you can find those easier. I was more worried about movement. So blinks and flanking maneuvers, and honestly, Fine Corsair was like the reason I went to air. I was a little worried about like the bigger minions, but I had berries and common senses, so I wasn't too worried about that. In my hand here, I have a Root Spider, and Root Spider plus Avatar of Earth is like free attacks. A Blink is great positioning, and Ring is broken, so I kept all of those. The Bridge is the only like questionable one I probably should have sent back. Oh, I did send it back. Look at that. In this event, this game, I should say, this game took less than 10 minutes. I've also sped this up a little bit, so this is probably about a 7-minute section. But if anybody's looking for a way to speed up sorcery games, and maybe you could do best of 3s in this format, is go 40-20. 40-20 is so fast in the sense of like it streamlines your strategy so well that you can really kind of come out of the gate swinging. In game turn 2 here, I probably should have blinked forward onto 8. There was not really a reason not to. I think in my mind I was like, I need to save blink for something in the future, but I should have just blinked forward and started punching the site in front as soon as possible, and then I wouldn't have to like start building out sites to 9. I would have not lost out on the 7 position site for power. So here comes Quagmire. With the new recent rules change, Quagmire gets a little bit worse. Still pretty good, but if they're now on your site, they can still punch your site, because immobile just means immobile now. It doesn't mean you can't attack the site you're on. Blink forward, Bruce. Come on. Start punching with Avatar of Earth. If I had been on 8 and tapped and played Quagmire, I could then be punching on site 13 for 4 damage a turn earlier. And then I had Rift Valley for some other shenanigans. Why am I playing so many sites? I think I'm still like, I need to build up my avatar's power, but I really need to apply pressure earlier in this scenario. Here, Zach gets Cloud City, which is pretty good for him. He can keep playing sites as Pathfinder, even with my Quagmire, like, got you stuck here. Usually, Quagmire versus Pathfinder, you get a tempo hit on Pathfinder if they don't have extra movement, but I wish I had blinked forward. So here comes Hilltalk Basilisk. This Avatar of Earth list also isn't playing very minions. I think it's just some bigger stuff and a lot of movement spells and ways to pump my Avatar. And I really wish and going into this game, I'm pretty sure I knew what Zach was kind of trying to do with his Pathfinder, and where he's trying to combo out with a Nibishian. So I wish I would have had that spider still, but you know, whatever. So I walk forward. I'm still saving blink for some reason. I could have been more aggressive, more proactive. So here Zach picks the site to the right of Sir Percival. This is to like bait me for not attacking with it, which is a decent strategy with Percival. Like you don't want to really put it on cops because then it's like, all right, well I'm never going to get that, so it doesn't matter. But right next to it, it does work there. And he has an infiltrate for it, which is a bit frustrating, but it is what it is. I get Atlas Wanderers, so this is a pretty decent one. I have 5 mana. Switch sites, and now I can use my Avatar of Earth to attack for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4 sites in one. Now I'm on top of his site, which isn't great, but I have a blink and a grapple shot, hoping to be able to use my Atlas Wanderers to hit him for 10 plus the 5 for my Avatar of Earth and take him to a door in that way. So I'm one turn away from, and here comes the Nimbus Djinn. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 plus the Hilltalk is a total of 18 damage, so that's a little rough. All right, I guess 3 short there. He's just going to punch with Percival. But yeah, Nimbus Djinn is a hard deck to play around. Like you get on their site and then you're dead and you go, oh, oopsies. Yeah, and I can't block Percival because of stealth, and I am now at door. I now have Percival on my side of the field, so I have 9 damage with minions, and then 5 more for my Avatar and a grapple shot, so I can get him to door on my turn. But and then I have a Earthquake, so that could be good. I think about it for a second here. I do get him to door, but I don't think there's a way to get him to door and be safe because I'm only at 5. Yeah, so I'm going to grapple his Nibishin and his Airborne, hit him for 5, hit him for 10, and 1 damage short, I think. Yeah, 1 damage short. Oh, and I forgot about the ring ping. Yeah, there it is. So I got him to door. And here's the one card he saved is a Whirling Blades, and it was like, oh, well, good game there. And that's the fun power of 4020 is the decks are so streamlined, you can really like reliably get your combos. All right, and here are the semifinals. Pwn Monkey versus Joffrey. Tell me what you guys think of this new layout. I'm gonna have the cards appear on the left side in that black space, and hopefully you can see mana and thresholds a little bit more in people's hands. Generally, I'm gonna try to do this going forward, especially from if I'm playing as Joffrey's position, you'll be able to see my hand, but you won't be able to see my opponents, but you'll see how many cards they have. So let me know what you guys think. I think this layout looks pretty good. Any other suggestions? I'm happy to hear it. Oh, yeah. And I have to remember not to move my camera because everything's set up in very specific positions. But Pwn Monkey here is playing a Steam aggro list in 4020, which is also very terrifying. And Joffrey is playing Avatar of Air Birds, mostly stock list, maybe with some extra AL cards in there, some other flyers. But here we have Free City before the nerf. And Avatar of Air is really looking to swarm out. What Pwn Monkey really needs to try to do is since he has double drums, that's a really rough draw. Maybe try to focus on flipping and protecting his sites. Avatar of Earth or Avatar of Air, everything she does feels like it's so life lossy, death by 1,000 cuts. Very, very frustrating to deal with, honestly, because blocking's a nightmare with all the airborne. And 4020 means they see a lot more key cards like Boulder and Free City in the scenario much more often. And playing against Avatar of Air, you really need to keep your sights close, and so you can defend them easier. If you play them off to the side or to the right, like off in the no man's land, it is hard to um, protect those sites. And here was a bit of a misplay. We talked about it after the game. Joffrey could have blocked the Power for free because Pwn Monkey had 3 mana and played it on Power, so there was no other tricks on board. But missed that one, but I think that was totally fine. So he eats Power here and eats Tawny with the Tooth Fairies. And also, as Avatar of Air, it's very important to keep removing Tawny, that she doesn't get any like innate value. So it hurts to not deal damage, but removing Tawny is very important. So here, Pwn Monkey copies a tower for 5 mana, and I think plays drums. Yep, plays drums, and I get why he did that. He has a Dragonette in hand that can start pinging things with the drums around and start removing things pretty easily. But I think I would have liked to see the Mirror Realm back on Pyre or Floodplain or something, and then tapped in Druo's Sight and play it next turn. And you play, I would have played Lion and attacked his Avatar, and then so it kind of like puts pressure on him, and it's like, does he want to trade? And if he pushes it over into Free City, yeah, he can attack, but then you still remove minions. I don't know. That's what I think I would have done, but I get getting drums out early for Dragonettes. That makes a lot of sense. And then now Joffrey can go on the attack, and with the airborne flip for Bruin, and now he has a 4 power minion to deal with, and you can now play Dragonettes, and I think he kills Haunt, if I'm not mistaken. Again, something I would have done differently. I would have. Oh no, I think he takes Withering Hero. Yep, he takes Withering Hero. That's what I would have done, because Haunt is not a guaranteed 4. Withering Hero is a guaranteed 4 to deal with. And here the Haunt rules are getting a little silly. So what happens with Haunt is it does re-enter the site, I think is what it was ruled as. So he takes the Druid Ping and then dies off of drums, which is really good. He does have the Tooth Fairies on Tower to deal with now. But now Tower is outside of the Druid protection, and so that is now Joffrey's like site he can exploit and go from there. Joffrey has a Rolling Boulder in hand, another Headless Haunt, a Lightning Bolt, and a Heist Eagle. And here he takes out the minions with the Rolling Boulder, and he can fly. Oh, he can't fly because he doesn't have 3 air threshold. And Druid doesn't take any damage off of the boulder, because the way boulder works is it makes the path and then it deals damage all in one instance. And since an active player, Druid's Bruin ability will absorb all 8 damage from Bruin and the Avatar from the Rolling Boulder. So here comes a 4 power swing off of a Raiders and a Trinket. Get rid of a Haunt, because Haunts are very unreliable and could kill itself with the Druid Aura. I think if Pwn Monkey had the site at 2 and within that Aura, I don't think there's a whole lot that Joffrey could have done here. Also, he spent a Lightning Bolt to get him to door, which kind of, I guess, makes sense. Spending a kill spell when your opponent is so close to door feels rough to me. I think I would have just kept punching with my Tooth Fairies on the left side where it's outside of the Druid Aura, and eventually he's going to be dead. And then you still have a kill spell in hand. You're at 12, and so I'm like not too worried about like getting one shotted. Also, could have flown, and then you're not in line of tower and attack to the floodplain, and then you're not in line of boulder damage. Just all these little positioning things that could have been different. I don't think anybody played super wrong. Just like these are the things where we're looking at retrospectively, you can like, should have I flipped for drums that turn or like played my mirror realm to get drums that turn? Could I used another minion and like gotten to 5 mana somewhere some other way and had my sights a little bit tighter? It's just it's so close. So here Joffrey gets the boulder back, which is really good for him. He can play a minion somewhere down low if it has haste or something. I guess Joffrey knew that he was essentially at 4 on the next turn, and so getting him to door first was probably very important. I still don't love burning my kill spell, but I get it. So I'm not sure why Pwn Monkey didn't take him to door with the lion. So attack with 4, 4 with the lion, 4 with Saracen Raiders plus the trinket, and then 4 with boulder. And then Joffrey's now at door. He is. Then you have a Violimp in hand for the kill spell. I would have, yeah, just. Oh, this was a good game. There was a couple points where it's like very, very close, and asking him about his reasoning afterwards was worried about Joffrey like squirming away because Avatar Air is so slippery, and a lot of these little decisions matter a lot when you're playing against Avatar of Air. And Bone Monkey said this was like his maybe 6th time playing against Avatar of Air, and a lot of Avatars of Air wins come from opponents not having had played Avatar of Air enough playing against it enough to know these little intricacies of like where to place your sights and what. Avatar of Air is just very slippery, and once you've played against it like a dozen times or so, you can kind of like start positioning it a little bit better. And then here is another crucial choice where one position matters more than the other, with Jihad. So here he pushes the boulder over to take care of the minion, which makes a lot of sense. The other thing he could have done with the Violimp on the last turn is played it to floodplain and pinged the Avatar of Air again, take him to 2. But now your imp is. So here he taps to draw sight. Not moving up is pretty smart. You never know what's coming. And here is the Geode position. Now, if he had played it on the 19, 14, 13, 18 squares, one over to the right, he could have played a haste minion, the lion, on the boulder's position, and now have a surprise boulder throw. Right now, Joffrey's looking to use the boulder to end the game just because that's the only thing that can get through the druid aura without taking damage. So here Joffrey moves back, pushes the Saracen Raiders onto Free City, and has to trade Free City and Tooth Fairies into it to deal with it because of the druid buff. So now in this position, if the Jihad was over where the boulder is, he could surprise charge outside of it and get him to door. This was a rough spot, a lot of little decisions, and it's hard to say what would have been better, and especially in the moment when you're playing the game, it's hard to see all these lines. And we are playing with perfect information, And I do like playing the site here on 2 because then it forces like a harder time with the boulder. So maybe he can move over with on it, and then having to fly around. It's not impossible, but uh, it's these just making your opponent do a little extra stuff. Um, so here Joffrey goes to the door, but it doesn't matter because he has a minion and is able to push the boulder. That was a tight and very quick game. It took a little bit longer than the others, but all those decisions mattered very much. All right, and then here we have the finals. This is game one. We did best of one. That both players were fine with best of one. So we did best of one for the actual game, and we did a fun run it back game after this as well, uh, just to give it a go. Zach here has a Death Dealer in hand, which is a little rough just because it's 7 mana and you really need some early interaction with against Avatar of Air where you're just going to get swarmed out, and it kind of another large minion here or Nimishjin for 6 mana for Zach. Free City for Avatar of Air is pretty good. Takes the 2 there. Zach really needs to see Violimps or some other like cheap removal to not get swarmed out. And Joffrey here plays Tooth Fairies, just another 2 power flyer. This is the power of Avatar of Air in 4020. You just play all these little flyers, and it's really rough for your opponents to deal with if they don't have early interaction. So now Zach is going to be behind 6 life and 2 minions on board. It's looking pretty rough. But he did draw a Poison Nova, which is pretty good. And a tower into another charge minion. Now Zach is 3 minions on board and 9 life down. Draws another 5-drop he can't cast. Really rough here. But also, a Hilltop Basilisk is pretty good, but I think I would have played it back on Cloud City to remove the 2 power flyers because that's 4 damage. And oh, I guess that doesn't matter because you can adjust attack with hippogriffs and unlock those. But in this position, Joffrey can just walk forward and play and push Hilltop into the free city. This was just a rough spot all around. Um, maybe playing it back on Cloud City was still better because then it removes a minion, and then you can play Poison Nova from River of Flame and get rid of the 2 other minions. It's not great. Oh, and he had a trinket too, so it didn't matter even if he played it on Cloud City. This was just a great curve out from Avatar of Air and a rough spot for Pathfinder and taking the door. This is what is this? Turn 4. Another 5-drop clunky hand here. Yeah, and then play Updraft Ridge and Poison Nova from River of Flame to clear the minions, but Avatar of Air can just fly over and punch you, and that's that. That's 4020 is a unforgiving format for sure, and especially Avatar of Air with this ability to like swarm out really early. You really need early interaction, and Zach had a pretty clunky hand. And game 2 here, Zach's on the play again. Free Cloud City again. TTS is weird. What can I say? Another free city or Cloud City over there. But Joffrey also has Free City in hand again. So again, 20 sites. You can see your key pieces a lot easier and a lot more consistently. Highland Falconer go gets a bat, and then next turn he can push and attack with it. Not as quite as good as his tower bats turn 1. Nothing to ping off the desert on Zach's side, but Zach is now on the play, and he can now use hippogriffs a little bit easier to remove something and kind of stem the bleeding. Um, he does only have one air threshold, so this is Pathfinder being Pathfinder, so you kind of like living off the top of the deck there. Um, Joffrey has turn 3 tower, is going to play just another flyer, which makes sense. Um, and Zach gets pretty lucky with a tower off the top for his double air. I forget if he. I think he plays Famine. No, Plague. Black Plague. Use it to get rid of Hast Eagle, I think. Just because that is the biggest minion and trying to mitigate damage is what you want to do in these early games against Avatar of Air. You're still going to take 3 next turn, but if you play it up, um, I guess this one makes sense too. Uh, Removing the bats now forces the Hast Eagle to attack the tower, and if Joffrey wants to attack with Highland Falconer, that's fine because it's going to die and keep Plague around another turn. This is the positioning control or area control that these auras provide that is very, very strong. Here comes another Highland Falconer. Go get another bat. Again, swarm strategy, just so many minions, you need some kind of way to deal with them all. Bower of Bliss, I don't think does anything against Joffrey's or Zach's deck. But here Zach flips a Perilous Bridge, which is actually a pretty good position to be in with a Poison Nova in hand. And that does prevent Pathfinder from like moving to it and continuing to develop sites. In this scenario, it did like help you like stay in that position. Zach said it screwed him over in the past a good number of times, so I wonder if you'll keep it in the list. And this is now Avatar of Air has like lost the pressure because of the I think 3-for-1 that the Poison Nova had and just ran out of minions. This is exactly where you want to be against Avatar of Air. You want to like survive that early onslaught, some early trades, and then get a 2-for-1 somewhere on turn 5 to 6, and try to like reduce the amount of gas your Avatar of Air opponent has. So now they're living off the top. Haunt's fine. You can play it as a blocker, but it's not a consistent damage source. Zach is at 3 air threshold, so now he can move Cloud City out of the way. And Lookout here is great for Joffrey just to see what's coming, but Joffrey is now in a rough spot because all these minions are now much bigger than any little flyer he has. Bolting the Hippogriffs makes a lot of sense just to remove consistent damage. Maybe there's a world where he holds that and plays Haunt on 9 and uses that as a blocker because he just played Lookout. He knows there's a vampire and a manticore coming, and having an extra piece of damage can be really important. Here, Zach gets another Death Dealer, but now this is no longer a clunky Death Dealer. This is a Death Dealer that can reset the board if Joffrey starts drawing minions off the top every single turn. Here, Zach plays the Manticore. Manticore is a pretty good just 5 power beater, but also the power of Manticore is that untap ability, and with Airborne, it really allows you to protect a lot of your sites, even if you attack with it. I think Sargeras, or one of the sites, Sirs in AL, untaps the end of the turn, but it doesn't have flying. So if you attack with it, yeah, you can protect behind you, but there's usually never going to be an attack behind you because you were already there. And if you could have, I assume you would have removed a minion. So that untap vigilance blocking ability doesn't really come into the play unless it has airborne. So untap with airborne is more akin to vigilance than just an untap ability because you just can't usually block very well. Here Zach opts to take the damage just because he has Whirling Blades and he can Whirling Blades the uh, the Manticore, but gets got with a grapple shot. I think I would have not taken the damage as well. That offering the trade doesn't feel great, especially since now you have a lot more minions in your hand, and you can like start really laying down the pressure with the bigger stuff. Um, I think Zach plays the vampire because he needs to gain some life, and now vampire will gain off of sight, but in this game it does not. We were not playing with that rule set yet. And here comes the boulder and deals with all of the minions. This is Avatar of Air just trying to deal with the amount of pressure and bigger minions, and you can do it for a while, but you're eventually going to get overrun. Zach has a Blasted Oak in here, which is very interesting. I think this was like for a Magoo matchup and for Lightning Bolts. He opts to play a Hilltop Basilisk, which makes a lot more sense just because now he has control of the boulder, now has more pressure. His vampire is on an updraft ridge, and so it's going to be able to attack most anywhere. And with the Whirling Blades, he can now take 2 steps with vampire and really go wherever he wants. Joffrey's starting to run out of some tricks here. He's getting some more minions, but that's now it's Zach's minions are better. Plume Pegasus is great, but it's only 3 power, so anything 4 power or more is just a complete. You can't leave these 3 power flyers up as blockers and trade profitably, so you have to play them defensively, and it just gets really finicky at points. And so Zach used the Updraft Ridge and moved onto Free City with a Whirling Blades and struck 2 things and gained 8 life, and has turned the corner, and now he's going to beat down with Vampire and Hilltop Basilisk, and Joffrey's kind of out of gas. He just kind of concedes the game here because there's no real point in continuing. He can play a minion, he can't really play Devil's Egg. He has Vampire. It's just the writing is on the wall. But congrats to Joffrey for winning the 4020 Sorcerer Summit. We have a promo coming your way at some point. And thank you, Zach, for playing in second place. And thank you for everybody playing in the Sorcerer Summit. It's been a lot of fun. And again, reminder, our next event will be after Gen Con, and it will be the bottom 5 avatars. Thank you, everybody. I'll see you next time.